On March 14, 1967, more than 3 years after his assassination, U.S. President John F. Kennedy's remains are moved to their final resting place. But who decided where he would be buried? And why was his body moved from its original burial site? John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas on November 22, 1963. His body was brought back to Washington, D.C., and his funeral was held 3 days later. Not surprisingly, the 46-year-old Kennedy had never specified where he wanted to be buried. However, as a World War II veteran, he was eligible for burial at Arlington National Cemetery in Virginia, across the Potomac River from the nation's capital. In fact, 8 months before his assassination, JFK decided to make an unscheduled tour of Arlington with First Lady Jackie Kennedy and a journalist friend named Charles Bartlett, who, by the way, is credited with introducing JFK to Jackie years earlier. While taking in the awe-inspiring view of Washington, D.C. from Arlington's Custis-Lee Mansion, Kennedy exclaimed, "I could stay here forever." After his death, many family and friends figured Kennedy would be buried in a location in his home state of Massachusetts. Bartlett, however, mentioned the Arlington episode from 8 months earlier to Sargent Shriver, JFK's brother-in-law, who suggested the Arlington site to Jackie. She toured the location the day before the funeral and agreed, saying, "He belongs to the people." Kennedy's popularity and the tragic nature of his death necessitated the development of a special site. Jackie asked cemetery workers if they could construct some type of eternal flame at the gravesite. They obliged, building a makeshift torch fed from a propane tank 300 feet away. Jackie lit the flame after the gravesite ceremony. 16 million people visited the site over the next 3 years, including Jackie and her children, Caroline and John Jr., on what would have been JFK's 47th birthday in 1964. To accommodate the huge crowds, an improved site was proposed and constructed with a more stable eternal flame. The original makeshift propane eternal flame was replaced by a permanent natural gas line with a continuous electronic flashing spark that would automatically reignite the flame in case it were extinguished by rain or wind. The Kennedy family chose to surround the flame with granite flagstones from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. The family paid the cost of the original burial, but the federal government funded construction of the final site and the plot's upkeep. More than 3 years after his tragic death, on March 14, 1967, Kennedy's body was reinterred a few feet from the original spot. A private ceremony was held the next morning, attended by Jackie, JFK's brothers Bobby and Ted, and U.S. President Lyndon Johnson, who had served as Kennedy's vice president. The bodies of the Kennedys' 2 children who had died at birth were moved to the site from graves in Massachusetts. JFK's younger brother Robert, who was assassinated just over a year after the reinterment ceremony, was buried near the site as well, with Jackie and her children in attendance at the funeral. Jackie died in 1994 at age 64. Although she had remarried, she was laid to rest at Arlington in the same crypt as her first husband. JFK's youngest brother Ted died in 2009 after nearly 47 years serving in the U.S. Senate. He was also buried at Arlington National Cemetery, near his brothers. A memorial stone for Kennedy's older brother, Joseph Jr., was placed near the site in 2012. Joe's plane had exploded over England while he was participating in a top-secret mission during World War II. His body was never recovered. In addition to the marker at Arlington, Joe's name is listed on the tablets of the missing at Cambridge American Cemetery in England. There is only one other U.S. president buried at Arlington. That is William Howard Taft, who died in 1930. Taft is the only person to ever serve as both President of the United States and Chief Justice of the United States. His wife Helen was buried beside him. Mrs. Lewis and I have visited the site of JFK's assassination in Dallas's Dealey Plaza. We have also been to the Kennedy Presidential Library in Boston and to Arlington National Cemetery. I have to agree with the comment JFK made 8 months before his death, that the beauty of Arlington is such that one could stay there forever. I was moved to tears while touring Arlington on our most recent visit. Mrs. Lewis and I have also visited Cambridge American Cemetery in England, where Joseph Kennedy Jr.'s name is listed on the tablets of the missing. Our visits to each of these Kennedy-associated locations were moving experiences. The Eternal Flame, in particular, holds a solemnity that befits the memory of a fallen president. More than 3 million people visit Arlington National Cemetery each year, with the JFK Eternal Flame the most visited location. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 1776, during the American Revolution, Alexander Hamilton is named captain of a New York artillery company. In 1879, Albert Einstein, one of history's greatest scientists, is born in Ulm, Germany. In 1950, the FBI institutes its 10 most wanted list to publicize particularly dangerous fugitives. In 1958, Perry Como is awarded the first ever gold record for the hit song Catch a Falling Star. In 1964, Jack Ruby is found guilty of the murder of JFK assassin Lee Harvey Oswald and sentenced to death. In 1973, U.S. Navy pilot John McCain is released after spending 5 years as a prisoner of war in Vietnam. In 2020, in an effort to combat COVID-19, the CDC issues a no-sail order to all cruise ships. And now it's time for our Today in History quiz. Where was Roman leader Julius Caesar assassinated? The Temple of Jupiter, the Curia of Pompey, the Forum of Nerva, or the Markets of Trajan? Liked learning about John F. Kennedy's grave at Arlington? Then you'll enjoy this one about the tragic death of his older brother. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.